How do you want to do the flag?
No flag?
No pledge tonight? So we
We-
just
we
stand up and
probably
face?
left it upstairs again. Yeah.
So what do you want us to do? We can just stand up and face the camera, and then, is that okay? All right, we'll do it that way, since you're not going to pan. All right. Good evening, everyone. I'd like to call the meeting to order for the Finance Committee meeting for November 7th, 2018 for the Village of Broadview. The meeting's called to order at 7:01 p.m. If we can now rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
There.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I left it upstairs.
If we could please take a moment of silence. Thank you. At this time, I'd like to introduce the committee that's up here. I'm Trustee Judy Abraham, Chairperson of the Finance Committee. To my left,
Director Hicks.
Oh, I'm sorry. Lorena Horn.
Trustee John Tierney.
for the public comments part of it, we're asking if the residents have any questions that if you want to hold them to the end after we go through each item on our agenda, and then we can answer them either through what discussion we're having or just at the end. So we could do it that way. The first item on the agenda is discuss Village Hall renovations and 911 Center project update. Ready?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. Mr. Kurtzner from the Police Department could not be here. Budget Officer Tom Hood could not be here as well. Okay. From Paul Kurtzner, I did receive an update as to what's going on with the 911 Center. So, this is what the summary for the October building events is as follows. They had the initial delivery for the 4 heating/air conditioned units were delayed as a result of the hurricane that struck the Gulf Coast region of Florida. This is the area where our provider, Tran, is headquartered and manufactures their equipment. 2 of the units were sourced outside the region and have been delivered. The interior construction is proceeding according to schedule. Individual areas have been walled out and drywall has been applied. The building department and village administrative areas are in the process of having new electrical and wall studs put into place. Work is also progressing in the front or the south entranceway. A proposal has been obtained for furniture and office products in the police department and designated areas of the village offices. They are waiting for another comparison proposal. In order to take advantage of governmental/group pricing contracts, we enrolled with 2 consortiums. Joining these 2 consortiums was at no cost to the village. They are experiencing difficulties in having ADT/TYCO alarm panel removed from the communications area, which affects some of the wall work. ADT/TYCO needs to verify that their clients are no longer connected to the system in order for it to be disconnected and removed. The village attorney, Nelson Jaworski, is assisting in resolving this issue. He did attach photos, as you can see, of the village, what's going on. So there's a lot of gutting out, there's a lot of framework going on, there's a lot of heating and air conditioning, you know, that type of frame stuff. So the work is continuing as progress. The front part of the building, as you can see, a lot of the walkway has been completed. So that's been going up. So obviously they're moving along on schedule. That is the end of his report. So if there's any questions about it, we can either ask at the end or we can wait till when we see him again. Okay? Next on the agenda is discussion of the year-to-date financials for September 2018. Director Hicks?
Okay. Actually, the financial report is through what we have so far for October, with it only being 6 days past the month end. Wanted to give an update for October, what we have so far, and not repeat what we've went over for September. So for the month of September, we had so far, or for October, excuse me, we've had revenues of $612,685. We've had expenditures of $827,278 for a net deficit of approximately $215,000 for the month. Year to date, we've had $6.7 million of revenue versus expenditures of 6.2 for a net surplus of $523,566. So at this point, this is 6 months into the fiscal year. We would expect that revenues and expenses would be somewhere close to 50%. And as you can see, we're lagging a little behind that pace at approximately 43.4% of budget for revenue, and expenditures are even lagging further behind for 6 months. For half of the year, we're only at 41.9% of expenditures. And a lot of that is, again, that expenditures and revenue don't come in on an evenly basis throughout the year. There's ebbs and flows of how the seasonality as to the expenses and the revenues as well. So we would expect in the next couple months for those, especially expenditures, to start to pick up as we get to two of our largest expenditures, which is payments to the pension funds. So we collect the revenue, and then we have to disperse that out to the pension fund. So that'll be a couple expenses that will, once those expenses are made, will get us closer to where we should be on target with budget. I guess I'll take any questions at this point, or we can...
We'll get to questions.
Yeah.
You want to do questions?
Sure.
Yep.
Anything from the trustees? Trustee Horn, do you have a question?
I couldn't really hear. I was having a hard time hearing.
Okay.
Sorry, I would.
Do you want to?
Yeah, so I'll just repeat. So for the current month, which is October, we've had revenue of $612,685. We've had expenditures of $827,278 for a net deficit of $214,593. Year to date, for 6 months, we've had revenues of $6,777,494 versus expenditures of $6,253,929 for a net surplus of $523,566. And what I was mentioning was, versus budget, we would expect halfway through the year that revenues would be about 50%, as well as expenditures being about 50%. But as you can see, versus budget, we're only about 43% for revenue and 41.9% for expenditures.
Any questions? Trustee Horn, I know you had a question.
So, the question that I have is, I understand the information related to the general fund. Do we keep reports like this for the other funds?
Yeah, so at the full board meeting, now that we have, half of the year done, we're going to give an update on the full, all of the funds.
Okay,
And that,
Any other questions?
not right now, thank you.
and that'll be,
Trustee Turner?
and that'll be at the November 19th board meeting?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so you'll be, is that all your questions?
That's it.
So that'll be the 6 month, halfway through our budget, and you'll give us a standing of where we stand, all the funds and everything?
Yes.
Okay. What was my question? Currently, right now, is a lot of our departments, and obviously we want to thank our department heads, as well as the mayor, for making sure that everybody is being, aware of their budgets and they're meeting their budgets. Are they pretty much progressing along very well? Is there an overspending in somebody's department due to a circumstance, or is it just generally, everything's running normal?
Yeah, everything is running normal. At this point, we're kind of light in expenses. We would expect that expenses would be, 50% or greater. And so that's what I was saying with the seasonality of the spend. So when you think about, we'll have winter coming up.
Right.
So that'll, so we have a lot of expenditures from the Public Works Department, because a lot of their budget is weather related.
So they're going to spike, obviously,
They're
a
gonna
little
spike.
bit. Okay.
And then the other thing is our contributions to our pension for police and fire. So as we collect that on a monthly basis from the employees, but we don't submit the employer portion to the pension fund, but once or twice, or maybe 2 or 3 times a year.
Right.
So and those are huge expenditures. So once we make those expenditures, then we'll start to see the expenditures get closer in line to what we would expect in terms of where they should be this time of year.
Yeah, because I know with the department heads and the mayor and working very diligently, having a meeting and coming in, I think you guys did it on a Saturday to put the budget together. You guys took a lot of time, so it makes a lot more ownership for these department heads to be able to function, run their department, adequately, So hopefully, again, as we learn and get better, the next budget we put together, we can at least, you have built in, so like you said, like when the public works spikes because they're going to have greater expenditures, we have certain built-ins where they're going to be able to recover and not be short, right? You know what I'm trying to say?
Right, so that's all in the budget itself, right? So everybody is kind of behind schedule in terms of,
Okay.
Because we're only at 41%, and we would expect that we would be at 50% or greater.
Okay.
Right? But, so we look at it on a full year basis. We don't look at it on a month by month, because we
Good.
budget for the full year, and we don't budget on a monthly basis, right? And so when we're looking at expenses, we're looking at where we are 6 months into the year,
Okay.
but the activity may not line up with these 6 months, right? So the perfect example is Public Works, which, they're going to have a lot of expenditures come, the winter time.
Correct.
Salt, all
Time,
of
people working hours of personnel, correct?
Exactly. But that's all taken into account for the full year.
Okay,
Right.
so it spreads out, other
Right.
expenses.
Yep.
Did anybody else have any questions?
Yes, so all the financial transactions that take place, I know the majority of them are allocated to the general fund, and I'm assuming the journal entries that take place, how often do that happen, as far as making sure that the transactions that are to be allocated to other funds are done so accurately? Do you understand the question that I'm trying to
Right,
ask?
yeah. So, that's why we don't look at a lot of that. Besides the water fund and the garbage fund, there's no monthly activity, right?
Okay.
But, so when you look at, we have a lot of TIF funds, we have a lot of funds that don't have a lot of activity, which is why we felt it was best to wait 6 months into the year to see, okay, what's been the total activity over the 6 months, right?
Okay.
And so we make those entries on a monthly basis as they happen,
Okay.
right? So if there's transactions that occur, when we see those transactions, because it's either cash coming in or cash going out,
Right.
right? So we reflect those transactions and record them as they happen. Now, does it make sense to report out on them on a monthly basis when there's not a lot of activity?
Okay, I understand that logic. Okay.
All right, at some point, you're going to have a windfall of income coming in, correct? Or has it been pretty consistent, our income, or has it been fluctuating up and down on a
Well,
monthly basis?
The property taxes come in about 4 to 5 times a year.
Okay,
The huge payments, right? So you're going to see those huge spikes. And then all of the other revenue is pretty consistent. in terms of sales tax and, things like that.
The journal entries that take place, is that directly into a system, or is that an actual person writing something into a ledger? I'm just curious.
No, this is 20.
I'm just making sure. I don't know what the
2018, right?
technology
So
looks
we
like.
have Locus.
Oh, can you hear me when I speak? Yeah. Oh, can you hear Mr. Hicks, Director Hicks?
Actually, it's difficult to hear from out here, but if you try and watch it, either the recording or live, unless you're talking right into the microphone, it's very difficult to hear what everybody's saying.
Right. We're aware of that for the board meetings, we have to talk into the mic.
I don't have any,
And how is it echoing now?
Is it-
Too loud? Yeah.
It echoes, so you get a little distortion when we're talking.
and that's why if you move the microphones closer to your faces, that will help a lot.
So we have
hear
an
that?
accounting system called
hear that?
Locus.
Okay.
All the transactions take place in Locus.
Okay, I was just curious. I'm not there every day, so I wanted to know.
This has been the system for the village for a very long time.
So, okay.
Yeah.
Any other questions?
Yeah, what's the status of the audit?
The audit is still in progress. We have, the auditors are back doing field work, so we anticipate that they should be done in the next couple of weeks, and then probably another couple of weeks after that to wrap it up. We had to have an OPEB audit, which is the other employment, pension employment benefits, and so you have to have it done every 5 years. So it's coming upon that cycle, so we're having that audit done as well. And with that, we engage a separate auditing firm to do that audit. And then we're also taking early implementation of one of the accounting pronouncements related to OPEB. So it's taking a little longer than anticipated because you have two audits going at the same time. We have implementation of an accounting pronouncement. We're adopting early so that we don't have to take it into consideration for next year. We can adopt it now, be a part of this audit, and then we'll be good going forward. And then there's just been a lot of cleanup as well. So there's been a lot of transactions that's been held on the books for probably decades that we're cleaning up, so that we just have really, really clean books, because the anticipation is that in the near future, in the next fiscal year, that we would move to a different software. So there's a lot of things that we want to do within this software to prepare us for the next one.
That's smart. What type of deliverable can we expect as a result of the audit? Like, what should I expect to see? Are you going to give me a PDF file that reflects something, or do we get some insight into what the audit reflects once it's complete?
Yes, you get what is called the CAFR, which is the Comprehensive Annual Financial Report. That's produced every year, and then they produce a management report that shows any material weaknesses or significant control deficiencies. So they produce those every year, and that's provided to the trustees.
Okay. And we can expect that when, I'm sorry?
Probably by the end of December, by the end of the year.
The end of December?
Yeah.
So the reports will be similar to what we've received in the past from, who's that agency we've used?
Baker Tilly.
Yeah.
Same
It'll be
thing.
the same one. You'll have a
Yeah.
management one, and then you'll have the annual one, so it gives us an idea. Okay.
Yes.
Any other questions?
It's not related to this, but I do have another one. So.
Did you get it'll come in a ring binder
Oh,
with
so
all
it's
the
actual
information.
paper?
Pardon?
It's
Oh, yeah,
act-
it's paper, but it's a ring binder, thick, it's comprehensive, so
Okay.
the information will be
Yeah,
there.
they give us PDF copies as well, because
Okay,
that's what
thank
we post to that's what we have
The
posted
website.
to the website.
Okay, that's
Yeah.
what I was expecting. Like, I don't want an encyclopedia.
Yeah, it'll be
I'm
comprehensive.
sorry.
I didn't hear what you said.
I said I was hoping they don't hand me an encyclopedia, like with 1,000 pages in it. It'll be a PDF file. that I'll be able to have
You
access
said it'd
to.
be similar to what we've received. Remember when Baker Tilly gives us the two
Right.
different ones, right? It's gonna be
Right.
exactly like that.
Okay.
Yeah, but we also get soft copies.
Yeah,
Yeah, that we, yeah.
Okay.
so it'll break down everything.
Yeah.
Okay. Was there any questions from our, anybody else from the board here?
Not
Before I
for
move
me.
on? Anybody from our residents, please, if you have a question?
Yeah, I do. My question.
Oh,
Can you get to the mic?
Step, yeah, step up, 'cause we're
All right, good evening. Can you hear me?
Yes.
we can hear you.
Okay, here's my questions. At the board meeting on Monday, there was a settlement, I think, for the police, is that or was it fire as well? For the raises, pay raises for 2.5% for 3 years?
Yes.
Here's where is that money coming from? That's my first question. You want me to ask them all so you can?
Okay, no, I'll address them one at a
Okay.
time. So for we budgeted for the pay raises because we anticipated that we would get the contracts done within this particular fiscal year. So the police chief, as part of his budgeting, took that into consideration, and so that was a part of their budget.
Okay, so if I go and I look at it, that's where it would be?
Yeah.
It's kind
So
of added
it's-
in?
Yeah,
Okay.
so there's a contingency line, and a part of that contingency was
The raises?
the raises that they anticipated to have to pay once they signed the contract.
Okay, good, okay, thank you. And for the 911 center, what expenditures have we had from the bond proceeds? Have we had any? I mean, we're having all this work being done, and I'm sure it has to be paid, or we're not waiting till it's all finished to be paid. So what's in that account? Any idea, or?
Yeah, so the bonds just closed, right? So they closed in September, October.
Mm-hmm.
We got the proceeds. We were paying those bills as they came in
Mm-hmm.
from what we budgeted for prior. So, no, we haven't paid anything from the bond
So we-
proceeds. I think just recently, because we had a huge influx of bills, that we transferred a small, maybe a couple $100,000 from that account into, from the capital projects account into the general fund to cover the expenditures. But what we will do is we will give, Paul Kushner, he has great details on everything that's being spent. He's tracking every nickel that's going out. And so what we will give a full accounting of what all the cost has been and the use of those proceeds. Because again, so we issued those with that in mind, and so that's what the majority of those proceeds will be used for. And that's what they're earmarked for, and that's what we will show that going forward.
Okay,
So let me do this for you, Ms. Redmond.
Yeah.
When Mr. Kurtzner comes back in town, because obviously he's out for training, okay, so that's why he could not attend, because he's been out for training. I will make a note of it, because you're obviously asking the question about costs and expenditures, and if there's been payments made, I'll make sure that we get an update, or if I have to state it, either myself. We could do an update at the next board meeting, because then he should be back, but he'll be back.
yeah, that's,
So,
okay.
So is
he
that
doesn't
okay with
need to
you?
Be here.
Okay,
So
yes.
what I'm telling you is that there's a couple reasons that this is being tracked to the nth degree. One is that we are seeking reimbursement from another municipality, Maywood, right?
Yes.
So we are documenting those costs because he has to keep those costs separate, right? We have to keep those costs separate. So we have our own village renovations that's taking place, right? So everything that's related to the 911 center specifically, which are costs that was already outlined, he's given great details of all the costs that is going to take to finish the village hall renovations and to build the 911 center and to put the equipment in there and to everything that's related to that. So when you look at what he's already provided, like all those costs are coming true to form because the details that he provides is there's what the original budget was, or what their original estimate, what the actual bid came in at, and whether that was higher or lower than what he originally estimated. So that's being tracked to the nth degree.
Okay, I do understand that, and I did listen to, and, to his report on that. I was just wondering, and that in the November meeting, that we would get some update as to what the expenditures for that. That's what I was asking.
That's fine. I'll make
that's
sure I'll
fine.
make a note of
And
it.
okay, and here's my other question in regard to that, and I think I understood that Maywood hasn't paid us anything yet, because we haven't got those bills out there, no need to get it yet, I guess. But here's what I'm asking. The state does reimburse 911 or sends money to each municipality. Am I correct on that? No. Do you get money from the state of Illinois or from Cook County? Do you get any 911 for our centers? Do we get any money from the outside from that?
Not that I know.
I don't think we can answer that.
No, but I mean, I just, when they asked us to consolidate, and they didn't want to give certain funds, what funds do we get from the state for 911 services? Do we get anything?
Well, here's my thing. I don't think any of us can answer that, and we don't want to misinform you or the public, because we do have a
we can
viewing
guess.
public. I would prefer, again, if you want at the November meeting, I'll make sure our village attorney is aware of that question, and then he can give an update on that as well. I'd rather have it come from a source that's reliable and an expert. I mean, I don't want us to misinform the public and misquote.
Yeah, get to the root of your question.
Well, no,
So
well,
what are
here's the
you
reason
asking?
You just want to know
Well, the
if they
reason I
paid
asked-
anything.
Yeah, the reason I asked, if the state is reimbursing, maybe I'm assuming if the state is giving funding to each municipality, I don't know, through taxes, or I don't know what it is, I'm wondering why are we not getting Maywood's 911 funds going into our account if we haven't?
That's not the case. That's not the case. They put out a ruling to say that municipalities under a certain population had to either join together or outsource their 911 center. They didn't put together anything to say that they would provide funding.
No, I'm not asking. What I'm asking is, in order for them to say that, they must be sending us something. And I would like to know what that is. And maybe I'll wait till the next meeting, okay, about that.
I don't
Okay,
believe
and
that
here's,
the state has given us anything.
okay, I don't know. I'm just asking.
let's-
And that's a good
like I said, I'll
question to
pass
find
that
out.
on to our village attorney so
Okay,
we can get that
okay.
looked into.
And it
okay?
may not be anything, but I just would like to know. And then
That's
here's
fine.
my last question. At one of the, I don't know if it was the first meeting in October or the second one, but in terms of the funding of the pension, we were talking about $600,000 to fund the pensions, police pensions. When are we going to do that, and do we have the money? When is that expected to be in?
So, yeah, let there be no misconceptions. We collect the money, right, and then we submit the money. There isn't anything in terms of what we levy for that. So once we get those taxes in, once we have a significant amount in from what we levied for, because we levy for the fire and police pension, and so we can't send out what we haven't received. But we budget, so there's a statutory amount that say that the Village of Broadview has to contribute X amount of dollars to the fire and police pension, right? Okay, that's the amount that we budgeted. That's what we budget, right? Okay, until those dollars come in, we're not going to pay out what we don't have. So that's why when we looked and seen that it was favorable, we haven't received those dollars in to send to the pension fund. It's not that we don't have it, because that's what is levied. And that's what Cook County, once they collect it, is what is going to be given to us to pass on to the pension funds.
Before December 31st. Is that my understanding?
Not before December 31st, because we could collect 90 days past the year end of
Okay.
prior year taxes. So, but before our fiscal year is up.
Okay. I just want to make sure I understood, why, if it's not there, I just want a clarification, and I appreciate that.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Is that everything? Thank you. Okay. Next.
Any more questions?
We have a question? Okay. Sorry about that.
I was wondering if the treasurer's report has been completed and published
For what's fiscal year?
for fiscal year 18.
It has not, because the audit isn't completed yet.
This is separate from the audit. Do you know what I'm referring to by the treasurer's
Yeah,
report?
I understand.
Because that was supposed to be was supposed to have been completed and published by October 31st.
As of this point, I'm not aware that we've completed it. We probably asked for an extension if we didn't complete it, but that would be a question I'll follow up with Tom about that.
Okay. My other question, right after the end of fiscal year 18, it was either in May or June, Mr. Hicks, you'd reported that the preliminary figures showed a deficit of just over $600,000 for that fiscal year. But as you said at the time, we still had revenue coming in, we still had expenses coming in. Do you have a rough idea? Are we still in that 600,000 range for the deficit?
Yeah, I wouldn't be able to answer that completely until after the audit is done.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
So what would the treasurer's report reflect differently than the information that we're getting?
Excuse me?
I'm sorry?
Can you repeat the
Yeah, when
question?
you speak into the mic, then we can't hear you here.
Oh, okay,
Yeah,
well,
so you gotta sit back if you're gonna ask him a question.
let me ask it twice. First, I'll do
Yeah.
it for the public, then I'll do
Yeah, you
it
do it
for
that
everybody else. So my question was, what does the treasurer's report reflect differently than the financials that we get right now?
Yeah. The treasury report is something that's mandated, and it asks for different sets of information, right? So it's not just revenue and expenses. Off the top of my head, I don't remember all of the different things, but it's not. It's a different set of financials in terms of what they're asking for.
Okay.
Yeah. So they ask for specific things, and some of it could be revenue, some of it could be specific expenses. So, yeah.
Mr. Hood could pretty
Yeah,
much
give
clarify the
Yeah,
details.
because he's the one that files it. So, but it's on our. Yeah, I'm not really sure. But it's not in this form. It's not in a revenue versus expenses type of form, a budget versus actual. It's specific information that has to be put onto that report.
Okay. The expenditures related to all the capital project, the reason I asked that question earlier about when the other funds, when we were going to get those financials for the other funds, because I'm expecting all the expenditures for like the capital projects, the 911 center, to be reflected, for example, in the capital projects fund. So is that a fair expectation? We would expect to see those numbers on that report once it's provided.
Yeah, that's a fair expectation.
Okay, I'm just making sure. Got to put it
Well,
out
when
there.
But what you have to understand is that we just got the proceeds, right? So we've been paying those, the 911 center and the Village Hall renovations out of the general fund,
right?
So then we would have to, that's where I say so again, another example of had we reported out on the fund, there would have been no activity.
Right, I understand.
All right. So now that we actually got the proceeds in, now we can reimburse the corporate fund for all the expenses related to the 911 center because we actually have the cash.
Okay.
Right, to give back to it. Okay.
No, I understand.
All right.
Any other questions? Can we go on to the next item that we have on
Yeah.
the agenda? It's ready?
Yeah.
It's called Discuss the Financial Policies. You have Debt Management and Fund Balance Reserve.
Okay. So these are two policies that were identified from the bond rating agencies that they felt like if we implemented these two policies that it would enhance our already rating that they provided, which they did. S&P upgraded the village. And so the first one is a debt management policy, which would spell out how we would manage our debt for the village, the type of debt we would use. It would spell out the different things that we would take into consideration to issue debt. So it's being comprehensive and being transparent with not only the residents but potential bondholders about how the village plans to actively manage its debt. Okay, so that's the first policy. The next policy is a fund reserve policy. So this policy would state how fund reserves are to be allocated, that we would actually commit to having kind of like a rainy day fund so that we wouldn't dwindle down any of our surpluses based on this policy. And what it does is it protects the village to say what we would use our fund balance for. And it would stipulate to have a specific amount set aside. And so I didn't want to provide those documents because, it's a lot of detail to go through. What I wanted to do was introduce those policies in this committee and then have the committee review and the committee make a recommendation to the full board about those policies for the next board meeting. So is there any questions or anybody don't have a complete understanding about the two policies? I think they're pretty straightforward. The actual policies themselves would be, very lengthy and in non-layman's terms, but what I just wanted to do was spell out the intent of the policies, and again, they'll be given to the committee, they'll be given to the trustees as a whole to review and have time to ask any questions about the full nature of the policies, but the intent of them is just what I indicated.
Any questions?
No, not related to that.
Trustee Horn? Trustee Tierney?
No.
No, I have no questions about it. Residents, anybody have a question on it? Obviously, you'll address it again.
Yes. Yeah, this is a great thing. I think when we look at the bond agency report and the fact that they upgraded the village, when here it is, the village hasn't issued any debt of significance in quite a while, and for the rating agencies to upgrade the bond rating to AA minus was a great thing. A village of our size, and when the underwriters was here, they talked about how our bonds was very well received. They were about 90% sold before we went to market, and we were able to price them right along with any other municipalities, not just in the Proviso Township, because they're probably priced better than those, but in the western suburb period. So our bond, so that reduced the cost of borrowing because we didn't have to go out and get rates that were higher than what the market was producing. So, and then it was well received by S&P, so much so that they upgraded the bond rating. And I think as far back as I can see, AA minus is probably the highest that the village has had in the past 15 years.
AA minus?
Yeah, AA minus.
You've been around, Trustee
Yep.
Tierney.
Yeah.
Probably the highest.
Yeah, we've had it pretty low.
Yeah, I mean, it's been like borderline on junk status, probably 20 years ago or not even that far back, but it's come a long way. I mean, AA minus is, yes.
So not knowing a whole lot about bonds, where was that on the bond scale? Is that like 5 from the top, middle?
It's probably 3 rungs from the best rating that you can get, which is AAA plus.
Good. It's very good. Very good. Appreciate all that. Any questions?
I don't have anything, thank you.
Tierney?
No.
At this, anything you want to wrap up for the year?
No.
Before I do my final announcements? Okay. Our village administrator, Letisa Jones, is here, and she has some announcements she likes to make on some updates that have been going on at the village. Thank you. Welcome, and thank you for attending. I appreciate it.
Good evening, everyone. A couple of things I just want to go over. I don't know if the community is aware, but we do have credit card services at the Village of Broadview. We're offering all credit cards. So Visa, American Express, Discover,
MasterCard. I'm sorry.
and Discover. Now, with those payments, we do have a credit card, a portable credit card machine that is in the office with us, of where once you make the payment, we can take it as either credit or debit. It just depends on your card and what you want to do. It also takes the chip, or we can slide it for you. Okay? Now, with this service, just so you know, it is immediate. So once you put your card in, it takes it, and it recredits your account immediately. Okay? Now, with that service, and I want everybody to know, because the biggest thing I've been getting calls all week is that the village decided to drop ePay Forte. No, we didn't. It was a state mandated of where they changed from Forte, because Forte lost their bid, and they changed from ePay to JetPay. So as a municipality who uses ePay in order to do online transactions, we had to switch over to JetPay as well. So if you go online and you want to make your payments, when you click on it, it's going to immediately take you to ePay, JetPay. So don't get discouraged. It's still connected. It's safe, and of where we having no issues with it. It is a service charge. So based on your credit card payments, of where you have a 1 to 2% of where when you come into the office, if you don't want the service, you don't have to take it. Of where we just, hit cancel, and of where we decline the payment, of where you can pay with a check or you can pay with cash. It's up to you. A couple things I also want to let you know is that the water bills are always due the last business day of the month, okay, the last business day. We do put that on the actual bill so that you know it's the last business day. So for example, October, it was the 31st, which it was a Wednesday, okay? Now, although we closed at 2 o'clock the inside office, we still check the box outside, because people tend to still want to drop off their payments, and we serviced it. I was out there until 5:02, making sure that I got all the payments in. Also, I want the community to know that we process payments daily. We do not hold any checks. We process payments daily. And that's the service that we've been doing throughout the village for as long as I can remember. So we're staying with that process. We do not hold anything over. We process payments immediately. Another thing that came up was our hours. Our hours of operation are as follows. On Mondays, we're open from 8:30 until 5:30. On Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays, we're open from 8:30 until 5. And then on Wednesdays, we're open from 8:30 until 2. So we're looking to see, and then that's in the future, once we move back over to Village Hall, to see how we can work in some Saturdays. Because we do know that we have working residents. We also have retirees that, want to come in on a Saturday and not feel that they're rushed in, during the week. So we're looking at that, of where I want to talk to the mayor and also the trustees to see if we can do that as far as hours. But that will be coming forward in the new year. I just wanted everybody to know. And then lastly, just to let everybody know, there's 4 ways that you can make a payment, okay? You can do it online. That's of your choice. You can mail it in. You can also do the drop box outside of Village Hall. We haven't moved that. And also, you can come in and see us, okay, at the firehouse. Yes, we understand that it's extremely tight, and that, we're looking forward to go back to our Village Hall in April, but we are servicing our residents as efficiently as possible. So meaning that, yes, we know that the last week is always a very hectic week. So of where myself, the mayor, and I, we're out there and we're engaging the residents, and we're helping as far as how we can move it faster. So we do know, we encourage all residents, we encourage all homeowners, come in and see us, of where, you know what, if you feel that it's something that we can do in order to change things, we're always looking in order to have different options. But right now, we have 4 ways for you to make your payments. And another thing I want to leave you with, when you make your payments online through your bank, and they do an e-check, it's called an e-check. When they send that check out, it is not immediate. And I've been getting a lot of calls, it's not immediate. When they mail that check, they mail that check out the next day. It takes 7 to 10 business days in order for it to get to us. We can't control U.S. mail. So please make sure that you let your bank know that it is not immediate. Because we had a lot of calls this week where they're saying that we're holding checks and then we're not processing on a daily basis. That is not true. Nobody can tell you how the mail runs, nobody. Meaning that they can tell you, okay, you know what, it'll be immediately in one day. That's impossible. Okay, I want you to know that's impossible. So I have been working with residents, reassure them, letting them know, please talk to your bank, let them know to not give you that information because it's incorrect. It's 7 to 10 business days, not including Saturdays and Sundays, because we're closed. We don't get our mail on the weekend until Monday morning, and when we process everything. So I thank you, trustees, finance director, for allowing me this time. Yes, ma'am, I'm sorry.
Since you brought up about the last day of the month, this year, December 31st, which is also New Year's Eve, is on a Monday. So will the village be open to make payments all day on that Monday until 5:30, like
Yes, ma'am.
normally on?
We're here. Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
We're here because we're not closed.
Okay,
We're
thank
open.
you.
Yes, ma'am. Mm-hmm. Yes, ma'am.
Question.
Go ahead. Go ahead, Ms. Redmond.
My question is not about the payment, but about the parking situation. And I was wondering if this is a possibility to bring back to the mayor. You know, it's tight between the police department and all the construction that's going on. But I'm wondering on 14th Street there, you know, where the Park District is, and that's, if it could be resident or Village of Broadview parking. You know, I'm just saying, so we can park there to come over to the Village Hall to pay if we have to do it, because it's difficult.
Okay, and we also have parking on the fire side as well.
South side of the building.
Big lot.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I
But
just
I
wanted
will-
to know.
I will let
didn't,
the
you know,
mayor
I
know.
didn't know that was available to us.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right.
is.
I
thought
think
it
they
was-
want to avoid any parking on 14th Street and then walking across 25th.
Safety.
There's a lot of
I got
trucks
you,
and
'cause you
cars
could get
flying
hurt.
through there.
So we can park in that lot. I
Yeah.
had no, I thought
Yeah.
that was for you all, for the fire department.
No, that's
Okay.
for
All right,
residents.
good. Okay.
Does any trustee have a question for our village administrator, Letisa?
No.
No. Thank you.
Nope.
You did a nice job. I appreciate that. Obviously, I want to thank, as we're closing here, I want to thank the trustees that attend, our director, Hicks. We also, you know, our budget officer and Mr. Kurtzner to attend these meetings, as well as Ms. Jones. You know, this is a team effort here, and as the mayor has said before, our message is always being about being transparent and making sure the residents know. You know, our success is based on providing the information. You know, all of us sitting up here are taxpayers. You know, we all have a vested interest in our community. You know, some of us, you know, been here for a long time, born and raised. Some of us have moved in because they found Broadview to be, you know, something that was affordable, to get their first home, and also to set up here. So, you know, we appreciate this, and that's why we want to put out a lot of information. That's why we do this as a panel discussion. So it's not like somebody getting up and giving us information like at our general Monday meetings, where it's more of a business meeting and they have to report to the trustees. This is our opportunity to sit up here and provide the information back out to the public, take questions. You know, we obviously tweaked our committee meeting to allow the residents to, if they have a question, they can ask it right here and now, because, you know, that's better. It's more important that your question gets answered. We feel that that's very important to you, because that's why you're asking it, okay? A few things that I have in closing is, one, again, I want to thank everyone for attending and listening. We appreciate that support. I also want to thank our Park District for allowing us to hold these meetings, and, you know, this is nice that we're working well with them, just because we've been displaced due to the renovations. And again, as you know, we talk about the renovations of the Village Hall. As you drive past, you could see how it's moving along. It's looking great. So, you know, it's all moving. It's all good for the village. Also, I want you to, during this holiday season, is please support our local businesses. We have quite a few name brand companies here as well as small business owners, and please try to support within our community. We like to recycle our dollars. Also, on that being said, the flip side of the coin is a lot of these companies are hiring. You know, Aldi has had a sign out there, you know, posted on Cermak Road, walk in, fill out an application, and that goes for Buddy Bear Car Wash, has a banner out there, Ross, Target, Walgreens, McDonald's, Chase, Starbucks, Jimmy John's, Dollar Tree has a sign on their front door. You know, so you've got a lot of opportunities, Lou Malinati's. So when you look at that, we have a lot of support, and, you know, if our residents need to be employed or if it's for the, you know, holiday season, this is our time to get involved. So we definitely appreciate our businesses that are doing that for us and saying, you know, they want to hire. So with that being said, please make sure you support them, and if you need a job, they're hiring. I do want to announce we will not be meeting in December due to the holiday season. So on behalf of the Finance Committee and the team that sits up here is that we want to wish everybody a happy holiday season. Spend it with your time, you know, spend your time with your family. That's the most important thing because this village is a family. So with that being said, I guess I can ask for an adjournment. Am I
Make
good
a
on
motion.
everything?
Yep.
We all
Motion
good?
to adjourn.
Second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Meeting is adjourned at 7:52.